Pro Tips! Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Pro Tips. Today we're going to carry on where we left off last week, where we talk about how to roast frozen coffee. If you haven't watched part 1 of the video, click the link in the description below, watch that video before you come back here and watch part 2. So just a quick recap of the first part, you want to vacuum seal your coffees in your batch size before you freeze them to avoid condensation. And number 2, you want to have sufficient defrosting time for your coffee to allow the water to migrate back from the inner part of the coffee to the outer part to make sure they're evenly distributed across the bean and for the temperatures to return back to ambient conditions. Alright, now on to part 2. How does freezing coffee impact the roast? Now the biggest noticeable difference is the coffee's responsiveness to heat application at the beginning of the roast. When you freeze a coffee, the water within the coffee bean tends to expand when it's frozen. This can cause the cell walls to break down and it alters the cellular structure of the coffee bean. So, as a result, the coffee appears to be more responsive to heat application because of the broken cell structure. So if you took 2 coffees side by side, one that has been frozen and defrosted, and a coffee that hasn't been frozen, and you put them in a roaster with the same heat application and roast profile, you will find that the coffee that has been frozen and defrosted will roast quicker at the beginning and have a shorter overall roast as compared to the coffee that hasn't frozen before. The main difference is in the beginning part of the roast, the drying phase. The frozen and defrosted coffee will get through the drying phase quicker than the coffee that hasn't been frozen. So you have to be careful when you're roasting frozen coffee not to apply too much heat at the beginning, otherwise you might risk a drying time that is too short and there wasn't enough time for the heat to penetrate all the way into the inner bean, and you might end up with an unevenly developed coffee with the inner bean still being a bit raw. Couple this with insufficient defrosting time where you have additional moisture in the inner part of the bean and you will likely have a very underdeveloped inner bean as opposed to your outer bean. So that's it for this week's Pro Tips. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to us, click the link in the description below, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and if you want to learn how to roast coffee from the best of the best, Ben Tuvey, World Roasting number 4 and Australian roasting champion, is coming to town and giving a masterclass. Tickets are selling out really fast. There's only a few tickets left, so if you haven't got your tickets, click the link in the description below now to get your tickets and for more information. This is going to be epic, so don't miss your chance. Act now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and that's it for this week. We'll see you next week with more Pro Tips.